Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator at Opperman. I should have got some water before I started, but let's see if we get through this. I could always pause. It's another show we're doing just for our Patreon listeners, our Patreon supporters. I love you, my Patreon supporters, so much. Most of you. Almost all of you. A couple of you drive me crazy, but that's all right. And if you can help out too, if you can increase your tier, you could dry some of my tears. I'm struggling with so much stuff. You have no idea, guys. My health is really bad, and there's just a lot of stuff I can't do anymore. But there's a story that came out in the Las Vegas news this past week that just blows my mind. Okay, my mind is blown. And it has to do with this escape from this prison up there that the what's that? Might have to reach the Southern Desert Correctional Center, the SDCC. Now, I've been to this prison, SDCC in Nevada. It's a small to medium size. I guess it's about 6 or 7 pods. And I would guess about between 1,500, 2,000 inmates there. And it's way up north on 95 past Mount Charleston. If you drive it up 95, where you make that turn from Mount Charleston, it's past that, probably another 10 miles maybe. So just imagine trying to walk from Mount Charleston back to the Las Vegas Strip. Because even when you drive up 95 and then you're making the turn on this desolate road, there's nothing else to turn down this road to but to go to the SDCC. There's nothing else there to turn on. That's the only reason you would turn on this road. There's nothing there. So just imagine a guy just walking along these roads in the middle of the night. Okay, that wouldn't attract suspicion at all. Now, usually when you hear about someone that they got sentenced and they're up in SDCC, that's kind of good news. Okay, hey, it was in SDCC. That's not so bad. That's not such a rough prison. Yeah, it's okay over there. Most people up there, they're doing 5 years, 5 years or less. Drug charges, maybe a gun possession, aggravated battery, something like that. But nothing major. Until I started looking into this, I wasn't aware they had any maximum security housing up at that prison. But somehow, this fellow, Duarte, we'll call him, Mr. Duarte. Maybe I can pull up the report, because there's a whole 16-page report that I'm including, too, along with this broadcast. And let's see if I can find this guy's name here. I got so many notes, it's crazy. Yeah, ultimately, the report reverts back to calling just Duarte, they call him. Okay. Porfino Duarte Herrera. But they call him Duarte. And this fellow wound up over there at SDCC doing 40 years. And the reason why he was doing 40 years is he was involved in a bombing. He built a pipe bomb with a motion sensor device. And back in 2007, another fellow who was his cohort, how the story goes is Duarte's friend had a girlfriend who was dating another fellow who worked, and then the woman, her name was let me see if that's not the right thing. Let me see if I can find this stuff. Her name was Karen Challey. Okay. And she was dating a fellow from Mexico. She was from Guatemala. She was dating a fellow from Mexico. named Duarte Antonio. Doesn't really matter. When what happened was there was another fellow, a very mysterious character here. Goes by two names. He's known as Rueda Denvers, but he also uses the name Alexander Perez. And the problem is that there was a fellow in Panama who claimed that Mr. Perez was using his name. Rueda Denvers was using his name. So we don't even know this guy's name. Okay? So we'll call him Alexander Perez. And he was jealous. His ex-girlfriend, the mother of his baby, this woman, Karen Chally, started dating this fellow at this hot dog stand in the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas on the Las Vegas Strip. This fellow, Duarte Antonio. So he hires, we'll call him our hero here, Mr. Duarte, to build a pipe bomb that's motion detected, motion sensitive, so that when they put it in a coffee cup, 7-Eleven coffee cup, on the roof of this fellow Antonio's car. So when Antonio walks up to his car, he sees the coffee cup, he reaches up to move it, the thing blows up, blows his head off, and sends shrapnel all the way to the other end of the parking lot. Could have killed many, many people. Now keep in mind, the fellow who was the boyfriend, was also convicted of murder, who is using a fake name of a guy in Panama. And our guy we're talking about today is Duarte, who built the bomb. So it comes about, okay, as fate would have it, that our friend here, Duarte, in September 23rd, 2022, Duarte is sitting up there in this SDCC, which is, for the most part, a medium security prison, where they have all kind of work programs. They take the guys out during the day and they put them on work details and stuff, and they bring them back. They take them all the way up to Mount Charleston. They work up there at the cleaning the bathrooms and building stuff up there, you know. And even it's so lax too that they have arrangements when these guys go up there on their work details that people meet them there, and and they meet them in the bed, they slip them stuff, all kinds of shenanigans go on. Very, very lax security at this prison. But our buddy here, Duarte's in there doing 40 years. Somehow you want to categorized to this prison, which is the guy blew a guy up, blew a guy's head off with a bomb. He's a bomb maker, okay, first degree murder. I don't know how he wound up in this prison, but he did. Somehow he was able to get himself in there, which is not very easy to happen. So on September 23rd, he escapes. And it's this really bizarre story. They're claiming that somehow he took some lotion and some electronics from a hair trimming device, and he was able to fashion a tool to weaken the slats in the bars of his windows. Remove a couple of slats, and then he was so small and slight. He does seem to be about 135 pounds. He's a small guy, 5'3", something like that. That he was able to slip through these bars. And then remain undetected for 4 days. First he hides for about 5 hours. Okay, he said he made a dummy out of cardboard in his bed. When they went to dinner, he didn't go back to his housing. He hid, and then that's a good question. Where was this window that he broke? It wasn't in his cell. Where was this window? I got the whole 16-page report. You can read it for yourself and tell me what's going on if you can figure it out. He gets through that window that he weakened with these tools that he fabricated. Then he gets over 4 fences, scales over 4 fences without anybody seeing him. 2 of these fences are razor wire, but don't worry because he stole some gloves. Okay? He was able to steal some gloves. Then he remains undetected of being missing from this prison for 5 days. He's gone on the 22nd. They don't notice him missing until the 27th. Now, in that time, the official story goes, okay, is that Duarte walked 37 miles from this prison down to the Las Vegas Strip, where he was found at a bus stop with a bus ticket to go to Mexico, Tijuana, Mexico, and also with fake ID. And the only reason they catch him there, and that, by the way, that bus ticket costs $800, okay? The only reason they caught him there is because there were wanted posters. They just happened to have some flyers and wanted posters, and someone who worked there at the bus station happened to recognize him. Now, when they capture him and they question him, he tells them this wild story that he gets out by fabricating this device. He cuts his way out. And that he walks 37 miles down to the Strip. Not all the way to the Strip first. First, he's up in North Bonanza in his old neighborhood where he used to hang out. And he's looking for friends that he had 15 years ago. Kids to loan him some money. And he's knocking on doors and stuff like that. He comes into contact with, by the way, too, it turns out later on, they did discover that he had a cell phone while he was in the prison. They were able to trace that phone number back with phone records. He was calling people. It's blacked out who he called. But he was calling people to get them to pick him up there by Mount Charleston where the prison was. He was begging people, threatening people. And so we have that. And then there was some business about a check that he had mailed to some former woman, that he knew in his life. And she was going to cash the check and give him the cash. It was an old convoluted story. But he says he walked back to his old neighborhood in Bonanza. He's checking with his neighbors and his friends. Anybody can help him out. He can't find anybody. He goes under a bridge and washes himself in a creek. Somehow gets some money, goes to Goodwill, buys some clothes, and then, get this, goes to the swap meet and buys false ID. Now, fake ID in Nevada at these swap meets, that's common, okay, but it costs about $500 to get decent fake ID at these swap meets, and you can't do it all in one day. I've never heard of anybody being able to do this in one day. Normally how it works, you go there, you pay them half the money, they take your picture, you give them the information you want on the ID. This was some kind of consular ID from, I guess, the Mexican consulate. But you give them the information you want to put on there, they take your picture, they got the, and it's pretty much done, pretty much out in the open. It's not really hidden very much. It's well known how this is done in Vegas. It's about $500, but it takes about a week. You get back to them. I've heard of people doing it in less than a week, but you don't do it all in one day. Somehow this guy was able to go in there and do this in one day. Who is this guy? Who is this guy? He knows how to build bombs. He's working with a guy who's using somebody else's ID in Panama, who hires him to build this bomb to kill his quote-unquote girlfriend. What kind of story is that? And then he's able to get himself housed in a medium security prison, man, after making a bomb and blowing a guy's head off, okay? Facing he's got a 40-year sentence. Breaks out somehow. They don't tell the cops for four or 5 days, okay? No one knows this guy's escaped. He's got a cell phone in the prison, okay? And so just by a miracle that someone sees a flyer, they catch him at the bus station with an $800 ticket, a fake ID, and brand new clothes, new duds he got at Goodwill, okay? Just imagine walking into Goodwill. You're all muddy, and all this kind of stuff. I got to buy some clothes real quick. You know what I mean? That doesn't raise an eyebrow, But that's the story. Now, they interview a bunch of people who helped him out. They interview a bunch of people on these phone records and stuff like that. It doesn't seem like there's been a single arrest made in this whole situation other than Duarte. They got him now. They put him up in Eli now, which is a max security prison up in Reno. It's up in Reno. Oh, it's up in Eli is where it is. Eli prison. Oh, boy. So now, whenever I hear about a prison escape, okay, I always take it with a grain of salt. I don't think has been really any prison escapes, especially in the past few years, without inside help. Okay. I had on the show here the guys from the Falcon and the Snowman. Okay. And the Falcon, according to his official story, he was able to cut through a fence and go through a ditch and then go into the woods And he lived in the woods, and he foraged off the land in the woods for 30 days, okay? Now just imagine no toilet paper, no, you can't brush your hair, you can't brush your teeth, your clothes are all filthy. Just imagine being in the woods. You go to camping for a day, okay? And you're camping for a week, and there's a facility there, you wash up, But the theory is this guy was in this woods here for 30 days, and then he hitchhiked his way out. Okay? Then you're just going to go out to the road, stick your thumb out, and someone's going to come pick you up. Okay? That's the official story there. I had another official story once. It was a story about a guy in Philadelphia. And he was in prison up there, and he got a day's furlough to get out of prison and do a day trip to do something. Who knows what it was. And while he's out, he does a murder. He kills a guy. It was an assassination type murder. And when they capture him on that, it turns out that the gun he used came out of a police evidence locker. Okay? So what I'm trying to tell you is, okay, is that it's not always cut and dried like you see on TV, Like even as Dana Moore, we were talking about this the other day when I was talking to that young lady, Frizzell, Adriana Frizzell from Addict to a Future. That's a show we just did. It's really not going to be playing too many places. I put it on the podcast off schedule. You can check it out there. It's not going to be in Patreon. If you want it in Patreon, you can ask me for it, and I'll put it up in Patreon for you. It's a story about a listener of mine who had a horrific life of drug addiction. Her whole family, was systemic in the family there, and how she's gotten out of it now. She's trying to get throughout the parole system and the fines and all the trouble that they give you when you're trying to go straight. They give you more trouble when you're trying to go straight when you're a guy like this here, Duarte. He just waltzes into a medium security prison, do whatever you want. Hey, here's a phone. Hey, you're okay. Here's a beard trimmer. Here's a hair clipper thing for you here. Oh, here's some wire cutters here. It's a fashion this thing into a tool. My goodness. So you got this. What was the other one? Dana Moore, right? It was supposed that this guy shimmies out of a 12-inch pipe. Oh, he lost a lot of weight. He got really good. They shimmied through this pipe. Like 200 yards or some crazy thing like that. And then finally, when he's out and they catch the guy, where's he staying? He's staying at a one of the corrections officers' hunting shack. Oh, that's a coincidence. They all have hunting shacks up there. Yeah. Oh, it's all a big coincidence. Nothing to see here. Look the other way. But this one here is one to take the cake. The guy's missing for 5 days. They don't even tell the cops he's gone. This investigation is pathetic, you see here. There's a lot of names on this investigation, too, man. They're going to have to live this down for a long time. I'm going to have the whole 16 pages for you here in the Patreon here for you to check out. It's just incredible. But 5 days missing, climbs over 4 fences, has a cell phone in the jail. He gets out, supposedly walks 37 miles. Okay, without anybody seeing. If you've ever been down those lonely roads down there, 95 up there around Mount Charleston, you would notice a guy walking around. This guy would have to be deep into the desert, walking parallel to that highway, not to be noticed. And I could just imagine walking over that kind of terrain, 37 miles. That would take 3 days, So to pull off something like that. Then what, you're sleeping out in the desert there, no food, no water? What would to believe this? He's out there 37 miles with no food, no water? That's illogical. And then he washes himself in a creek? This is they want us to believe this? Anyway, so I got this for you here. This fellow Duarte, and even the other story is pretty suspicious too. He hires this guy with this bomb-making thing to get his ex-girlfriend's boyfriend. I don't know, man. That's a little weird too. But this is just a little extra content for you here for my beloved Patreon friends. Thank you so much.